I hope you're well. Welcome to my channel. If you've not been here before, this is where I talk about all forms of consciousness, predominantly twin flame consciousness, as that is the energy that I am. This video is going to be about a different perspective on the journey. It's also going to be this understanding, this clarity came in with the last, as the new moon cleared. So just yesterday, in fact, this came through. So the reason I'm putting it out, I've just put out a video which explains this video channel, hopefully, and what it is about. So this is just another video that's going to try and help from a different perspective to explain twin flame process. This one particularly in relation to reunion. They know a lot of people are interested in reunion. Higher consciousness knows that, they're aware of that. This is, they want everybody to be in reunion as much as everybody wants to be in reunion, but the process has to complete and has to the reunion has to manifest through the process. So there's a whole load of other stuff that's involved in getting to that reunion process, and that reunion point is only one stop on the journey. It's not the end stop. So that's very vital to understand as well. It's literally just another stop on the journey, not the final destination. However, let's get into explaining this and how it came in yesterday. So just a little bit about me first and how my process is moving through. So I've known for a long time that I'm going to go and live somewhere else with my twin, and this place is a different country and I've got a different language. And I've known for a long time that me learning that language is a vital part of us going there. I could go into it more. He has loads of skills, loads of talents that will they'll make a grab for him when he applies to go there. But for me, they're not going to be making a grab for me in that way. So I have to bring on board something that will encourage the powers that be to see me as a asset, right, to the country in whatever way I can be an asset. So language is one thing. So firstly, this language isn't something that I would choose to learn. If I was going to choose to learn a language for my ego, I'd choose Spanish. I've travelled a lot through Central America, and I really, for 3 months I was there, and I picked up Spanish so easily whilst I was there, and I think it's such a lovely language to speak personally. However, that's not the one. It's something else, and it's a language that I just wouldn't choose to learn. It's one that I learned at school. I don't have I like go ooh like a school kid when I think about having to learn that language, which is why I put it off for ages, even though I know I've got to do it. And so what happened yesterday after the new moon, and I said we were at a shift point and something was come in, was that I opened up my laptop and I saw something about how you can learn languages really quickly in 20 minutes a day. So I thought, well, here we are, and now it's here, and I've got to do this, and they're trying to make it as easy as possible for me, so let's just get on with it. So I signed up for this course and I did the first 20 minutes, and what was amazing was every little test or every example of this language, because it's all examples and you're following that and you speaking in that language, I got it right, and it was so easy. And it was just like, and I was saying, and it was after this mini lessons, they last about less than 5 minutes, like maybe 2 minutes, and after each little segment I was like, I know this, I can speak this language. And ages ago they'd also said to me, whatever you need for the process, you will get it, and just go with the flow, and it'll be brought to you, and it'll be easy as anything. And they said that, I think it was in somebody's video reading about their learning of a language or their learning of something. So I knew that as well, and it was just really easy. And of course I'm going to have to keep at it and instill it in, but that's my story. But anyway, so I just wanted to say that. So that came in, I finished that, I stood up in the middle of the room. As I stood up in the middle of the room, I saw Mr. Blackbird sitting outside on the fence, and it was close enough that I saw him, like his yellow beak, as yellow as it can be. And I said before in the last video, all the masculine that comes to you is a representation of masculine energy. So it's all representing what's going on in your energetic connection with your twin and energetically around you. He's a representation of the masculine energy, therefore a representation of my twin. When I looked at him, I saw this is what happened. He was looking straight ahead. And if you ever look at a bird and you watch them and the movements they make, and they're looking for food on the ground, or they're looking for a threat, they don't do a double take, right? But he did a double take. It's like he went to go one way and then he moved the other way. And it was quick as a flash. And I was like, that's unusual in a bird. And as a representation of the masculine, there it is. It's somebody doing a quick turn, a quick change, a quick new direction, right? So that's kind of what I understood through that. This all went on practically at the same time whilst I was stood in the room. And then I had music playing, and I started to sing along with the music that was playing. And the song that was playing was "I Won't Dance," which the version that I was listening to was Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong. And that song has got a lot of French, like it's talking about being in France, and it's talking about being the understanding they have is through the French language, right? And the language that I've been learning, I said it now, is French. So, in the song itself is about, I won't dance, it's about, I won't get into a relationship with you because I'm going to get hurt. That's the underlying meaning of the song. So I found myself singing along with that, and as I sang that and the French bit came in on it, there's a few bits in there that are about France. Will be the king and queen of France is one of the lines, right? King and queen of France, twin flames. And then the Mandela effect like spiraled down and was brought back into a place of clarity. So it had all this understanding come through at one time, into that, through every fibre of my being around the reunion process, okay, which was about the reunion process. And from that point of clarity and that cleared energy, and they brought in an understanding around instinct, because that was the bird showing up, right? And his move there was telling me about instinct. So that's what happened at the end of the new moon for me. And now I want to just go into explaining this and what they meant by instinct in relation to reunion. And it's just, again, there are many ways to look at twin flame process, and there are many, many people out there explaining twin flame process, and that's fine. It's all right, and all new understandings are good. So, it doesn't have to be something you've understood before and you stick at that. The whole journey is about expansion, so it's about opening your mind. It's about bringing in anything that will help you understand and process the energy at whatever point you're at. So that's what this video is about. Just a new understanding that might help some people. Some people it might not have any effect at all on them, but that's fine, because we're not all the same. We are all having an individual experience. We all learn differently, and we all need different explanations to help us be in the energy that's best for us, and processing the energy of the twin in the easiest way and the best way for us. So that's just what this is, right? So where am I going to start? I'm going to start with the moon again. So one of the previous videos I put out was the moon. So just to recap here on the moon, and the moon being representative of the psyche, which is in fact masculine and feminine, because the psyche is the mind and emotions, right? So you've got two halves. You've got the dark half of the moon, which is the mind. You've got the light half, which is the emotions. Also relating here, mind is ego, mind is masculine. So that's the masculine half. Emotion is feminine, and emotion is heart-based, or you could say empathy. So you've got ego versus empathy, really, in that respect. So let's also do that. So you got, all right. So mind, which is thought, and ego, which represents the masculine, the dark half of the moon, the dark half of the psyche. And then you've got emotion, which is heart, and which is empathy, which is feminine, which is the light half of the psyche, the experience of being human, basically. So that's in relation to the human experience. And of course we've got source, but source is a broader perspective and it's an overview of the human experience. So we're not including that in the diagram here, in the dark or the light half, because this is a human experience. Source is the broader perspective. So it is actually sources where you get to by coming to a balance point of the dark and the light inside of you, which you can call 0 point, which is the point of balance, which is where you channel through high, which is where you come through high source, right? Highest consciousness. I'm just going to talk about the moon for now, and then we're going to go down to the human experience. So we need to mention this human experience. I'm going to talk about chakras for a minute. Again, don't get caught up in like, that's not how you explain the chakras, or there's more chakras than that, or anything else about chakras, because this is just a visual for you to help you see this explanation. So you got human person, right? Let's give it some legs and some arms, and you've got the head. On the top of the head, you've got the crown chakra relating to source. Also relating to galactic center, which is also relating to the sun, which is enlightenment, right? And then you move down into the head and you've got chakras there. You've got the third eye, which is representative of source coming through and giving you insight through the third eye. You've also got, we've got ear chakras. Let's just mention that because that's where the clairaudience comes in. But that's not part of this really. Okay. And then we've got the throat. Throat is a link between the higher consciousness and the lower consciousness. And then coming down into the heart center, which obviously is empathy and feeling, emotion, all that. And then coming down into the solar plexus, which is fear-based. We'll get into that in a minute. And then from down there, you're coming into the Svadhisthana, which is the lower belly, which is sex, sexual chakra, fire and heat, lust, urges, primal. And down here into the base chakra, which is history, which is all your lives that you've ever lived. It's all your family, it's all your relations, it's everybody you're connected to. It's also connecting to the experience of being human, in that it is the grounding chakra. Of course, below here you have something they call the Earth Star, which is a chakra that's energetic, that lies outside the body, that is also to connect into the earth. So it's kind of like where you got the crown, and it is in the body, and above that you've got higher consciousness. What you got down here, this Earth Star, is about really grounding that higher consciousness even further into your physical experience. So as the energy comes down, it's coming down through these, and it's a grounding, right? As it grounds down. So that's just to explain that a little bit. So when they're explaining this instinct, because we're talking, this video is about reunion, see reunion like this. This might help you. The reunion point, what is that? So they've talked in videos before about the reunion coming about as a direct result of vibration. And the vibration, and that vibration being what they call prime real estate. So it's the vibration of oneness. It's the vibration of ultimate knowing. It's the vibration of no fear. It's the vibration of source. It's the vibration of, this is only a physical experience I'm having, but I am source and I have nothing to fear. No matter how much fear I see around me in the physical experience telling me I should fear. That vibration, that is prime vibration, is a cleared and solid, and I don't mean solid and in mass, I mean strength. It's a vibration of strength, right? So that is the point of reunion. It is that vibration of everything else of the human experience combined into only creating a vibration of strength. You in solidarity with your source self, right? So we know that that's the reunion point. And once you're playing with this vibration, once you're in this field of endeavor, and your only creation is coming from this vibration, and your only vibration of self is the creation of that vibration, then you're in reunion point, and that reunion can come in from there. Now you can have reunions that come in that are a swift manifestation of a short vibration. So you can have a call, a text, a meeting, running into that person as a swift manifestation of that vibration, right? And then that could go out again. That reunion will go out. So it's like, you could bump into them in the street and have a lovely conversation, and then you're not seeing them again for 6 months. Whenever that reunion's coming about, it's because you've got into that vibration. And at the start of this journey, this story, where you are not in awareness that you're going through this, you're not in any way creating that vibration. But it could be you've just had a very nice afternoon. Maybe you come out of the sauna or the gym, and you're feeling all whole, and you're feeling fine, and you're feeling good, and you're feeling wonderful. You've got no care in your mind, you've got no cares in your thoughts, no worries, no stress. You're humming along, you're singing a song, and you bump into your twin, and you've got a point of reunion because of that. This vibration created by the feminine, so it's always created by the feminine. This is the light of the psyche, you see. Everything they just said, you're creating through lack of thought, carefreeness, lightness. You're creating through feeling good, lightness. You're creating through, therefore your vibration, this healthy, thoroughly clear vibration, where there is no detriment or disablement of the vibration. So that is coming from the human psyche, coming from your emotions, coming from your heart energy. And it's all coming from the feminine energy. So it's in both twins, because everybody human is a representation of the dark and light. That's the human experience. In twins, you've got two connections running parallel, and they're working like they're two train tracks. You've got two little trains going along these tracks, and the feminine goes forward and comes into more harmony, and the masculine train is chuntering along in the background, and at certain points it will meet. So your vibration will create that vibration in the masculine, and then bam, you've got one of these points of reunion. The end of the story is, in terms of reunion, because like we say, that's not the end of the story per se, but it's just a point that is the end of the reunion story, right? Is when you're in this vibration, you become master of this vibration. Mastery, they taught before, right? The 4 feet on the ground, that's mastery. So that is your mind being clear of thought. So that's no mind. And that is worry and fear and stress and talking yourself into a frenzy of fear, because that goes on in the mind. All these fearful thoughts and worries. So that's one leg or 1 foot on the ground. Your heart, energy, your emotions being in a feeling good place. And that feeling coming from nothingness. So it's coming from no mind. It's not coming from, if I do this, I'll feel better. If I do that, I'll feel better. If I go here, I'll feel better. And those things might be a point along the line of getting you there. But ultimate feeling good is just, I know if I feel good, and feeling good is what I am, that everything will arise from me feeling good. It's mastery, you see? You've got your no mind mastery, you've got your feeling good mastery, then you've got your physical experience mastery. And what comes into the physical experience mastery is looking after your physical body in the best way possible for you, and everybody's individual on that. It's also being thoroughly grounded into the physical reality and not being afraid of it. There's a point in this journey where people will exit the physical experience, and they'll go through the mind, the thought, the imagination, into 4th dimension. 4th dimension is not source. 4th dimension is thought and imagination. And it's like a shortcut, a short circuit. It's spiritual bypassing. So it's not a direct connection to source they're going for. They're going for an illusory connection to source, so anything that would help them. It's like putting salve on a burn, that kind of a thing. So it's at points in the journey, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, because it is like a self-soothing almost, right? And that self-soothing is necessary at certain points on this journey. But when you are physically grounding, when you're in mastery of your physicalness and being in this world, you don't need that self-soothing anymore that comes from the fourth dimension. So you don't need to be escapism is that, right? Fourth dimension is escapism. So like I say, some of these things might be necessary, even like meditation in a way, and taking yourself there in terms of like fantasies, making fantasies. I'll tell you what it is. Well, you know, when you daydream about your twin and being together and that beautiful reunion and that outcome and all that fantasy, that's your imagination. It's not what you have in the physical reality right now. Yes, you know maybe that reunion's coming, but the creation of the fantasy of how it will be is being in the fourth dimension. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. At certain points you'll be guided to go there, but it's not the reunion point in the physical reality. The reunion point is where you're grounded into your physical experience and you're not fearful of your physical experience. So it means you're not scared of being alone. You're happy being alone. You have no feeling or thought one way or another about being alone. There's no fear at all about your current, present moment physical experience. And therefore you're in complete harmony with where you're at, wherever you are in your physical experience, and can only therefore be in harmony with your vibration, because all these, mind, emotions, physical experience, make up your vibration in however you're cording yourself to any of them. So you're either cording yourself into each of those through fear, and that is either I don't want to be alone kind of thoughts, or maybe feelings, or in the mind as well, for one example. So when you're in the thoughts, the emotions and the physical representation of that, which is no longer thinking about being alone, no fear of it, no feeling about it, then you've got those brought into the vibration as well. So that vibration is the 4 feet on the ground that they talk about. Vibration, physical body, physical senses, you know, all that makes up the physical experience, how you relate to the matrix around you, and thought and feeling. Whenever you've got those in alignment, you're going to come into the union point in the vibration. And, you know, as they just said here, you will go in and out of fantasy. I have to say, from when my mother died when I was 10 years old until I could say, wow, right up to like 47, 48 years old, I spent a long time fantasizing. For a start, I didn't meet the one until I was in my mid-30s. So I was always looking for the one, or, you know, wanting to meet them, waiting for them to come along. And they didn't come along till then. And then it was my twin flame. And that, of course, is all up and down and all over the place because that's the process. And so fantasies continued all through separation, right up until I would say, the end of my 40s. I think when I came here, actually, I would say they were fully over. So once they brought me to this location, which is even, what was I then, 51, fantasy continued. So I was self-soothing through fantasy of what I didn't have in my physical experience at the time, that love. So now where are we going now with this? Right, so yeah, so like I say, on this journey you go through many different points. So we're going to come back to the chakras again because this is to explain this a little bit more through this. Right, so when you come into a human experience, you come into the physical body and you've got all these energy points that represent things, and we've just explained those, what they are, right? If you're coming into the human experience for a twin flame process, as they said here, you're working with 2 different people, whether that's a man or a woman, or 2 women or 2 men, it doesn't really matter. It's 2 in the twin flame, otherwise it would be a triplet flame, right? So it's a duality experience. And there may be triplical, there is quadruple energy experiences, but that's not what twin flame, that's not what this understanding is about. This is about duality. Okay, so that's a totally different thing, so we're not going there. So we don't need to learn about that here. We're doing this, explaining this. Right, so you're coming in for the twin flame experience. So without getting into that too heavily, because that's a complete other video, is that you are in the process of balancing your psyche, your dark and light half, and you, the person watching this video, being a representation of the feminine, is connected to another human who is a representation of the masculine, although you both contain masculine and feminine. Your endeavour here in your human vehicle to balance your masculine and feminine energies so they're in complete alignment, so that you can come into alignment with source, because remember that the alignment with the psyche is alignment with source. So you're connecting right into higher consciousness, is connected to their experience as well. So they're doing exactly the same thing, but through a different energy, how they're working with the energy differently. And this dual experience is about how you're connected, and it's the interweaving of these energies between the two individuals. So the twin flame process is a spiraling process because it's spiraling between the two individuals. You are connected through your mind, your heart, your senses, and just these things, vibration, obviously. But more than that, you're connected through everything else that's represented on this line of chakras. So, and not only are you interweaving, so for example, at the new moon, you're going to feel more ego coming up. You're going to be clearing your own ego, your own human experience of being human, clearing that belief in what you see is real and there's nothing beyond that, right? The human belief that there's no source. And you're going to be clearing that in yourself. You're also going to be clearing the one that you're connected to, their ego, as it comes through you. You're going to be coming into higher consciousness at times, so you're going to be coming to very clear points of access where source can come in. And the more you clear through the ego, the more that comes in. And that, as you're clearing at the full moon, or as you're coming into, I should say, they're also coming into it. But like we said, with the train running slightly behind on the track, that's the masculine representation in the physical, they will be moving along that track behind you, coming into clearer and clearer energy as you've come into it. So they're following along in that respect. So you're bringing them through the process. So that's one thing, right? So you can see in that way, it's a passing back and forth of energy. You're never disconnected, but you're always passing back and forth. You could call it clarity, wisdom, enlightenment, up-levelment, those things, right? And so that's one thing about that, but that's a whole other video in itself, really. I could do a whole video on that, might do. This one is about how the reunion point is an instinctual point, so something to really just understand, which will make it easy to understand what you're clearing to get to that point, and how to see beyond your mind vortex. So, for example, you're connected through every one of these chakras, and every chakra represents something. And the journey is a spiral. I'm really simplifying this, so just so you can really get to just one understanding. In the base chakra, you've got like everything you're connected to in terms of family, familial experience. And we'll just talk about this for a minute. So another thing about twin flames is what they're here for is to clear dark energy. So they're actually here to clear this half part of the psyche, the ego part, and to come into the light part of the psyche more fully. The light part is related to higher consciousness. It's a clear part, right? So higher consciousness is related to that side, the empathy, because the evolution of humankind is the evolution into the heart. So, excuse me. So they're here to clear the dark part of the psyche, basically. So they've got, in terms of what might be human experience in their lives, just talk about current lifetime. What is you're surrounded by dark energy in whatever form. So it could be narcissistic family, it could be narcissistic siblings, it could be previous partners, narcissism, however you brought that to yourself to experience dark from around you, narcissistic school teachers, maybe you were involved in church, it was the priest. It could be anything, you know. It could be a best friend, could be one best friend to the next, to the next, to the next, for however many years, turned out to be a narcissist in whatever way. But earlier on in the journey, and this base chakra represents the human experience, so it's very early on in the journey, you're going to be experiencing a lot of dark energy from outside of yourself coming towards you, and you're going to be asked to clear that, right? So you're clearing through these human experiences, and you're not going to clear them all at once, because it's a spiraling journey. Because every time you clear one, so it might be coming into awareness that, oh, my mum was a narcissist, then you carry on moving through experience until the next time you're asked to go back to that energy and clear another one of those experiences. So as you move through this twin flame process that you're going through, you start to clear through everything in the base chakra. So that's just one example of that. To give another example will be where you are in some kind of energetic work in dismantling the dark energy from humankind itself. Like I say, twin flame is not just about reunion, it's about what you're here for, and what you're here for is to clear dark experience. So your work can be, here we have as well the collective in this base chakra, because it's a whole human experience. So you might be guided in back down into there, spiraling into there to clear out some dark agenda that's running through the human experience for the collective. So, and the more you process through the journey itself, the more light you come into, and the more fifth dimensional energy, a source, and high enlightenment and wisdom that you come into. Every time you come into that, you're going to be guided to go back down and clear out some more dark, because you can become more and more proficient at doing that, and more in mastery of doing that. And the better you get at it, the more you clear all your stuff, you clear your family's stuff, and you're also going to clear for the collective towards the end of the journey. So there'll be big mission work coming in around where does dark energy lie within the human collective, and you're working clearing that by bringing it into the light. Exposure brings things into the light. Exposure, just like with a camera flash, exposure is bringing it into the light. Okay, so, and then you've got this sexual chakra here, and here lies anything that's about the primal urge to experience the sex act, right, and all the joy that that brings, and that feeling, because what sex does, sacred sex, is the feeling, the orgasm from sacred sex, the connection with another human being, is like being connected to source, right? It's that feeling of utter let go at the end of an orgasm, that feeling of utter like transcending beyond your physical experience that you experience through an orgasm. That takes you right back to source. It's a pure point of power. Is power. The sex experience is power, right? And within the human, in activating that primal sexual chakra, you're coming into a lot of power. I've got to talk about something else now as well, otherwise you won't understand why I'm saying this. Because what happens when you're moving into higher source energy, so when you're clearing the psyche, you're clearing upwards through the chakras. So there is a straight line to enlightenment. Do you travel along a straight line in a twin flame process? No, because it's a spiraling process, because you're working with another human being who you're connected to above all others, who you have to bring into the light. So you're constantly moving up a little bit, like 2 steps forward and then 1 step back, to help them catch up and bring them up into more understanding and more clarity. So that's why, again, they're saying you're going to clear something here, you'll start moving up into something else, and it can be anywhere along the line here, and then you might have to drop back down however many times it takes to clear out more for the collective human experience, and also for the twin flame process. And like I say, where this reunion point is, you've got the understanding there. Yes, it's vibrational, right? But there's more to it than that. It's because, you know, you can be in that vibration, that prime real estate of vibration, and this reunion is not coming about. And the reason is, which we're going to explain. So anyway, but these chakras push upwards, right, into enlightenment. So you've got the base one that's really heavy, really dense with human experience. The sexual one is like the firepower. So that's why sacred sex with your twin, if you're in this experience early on and you have, you're doing it through a manifested physical experience, you'll have that sacred sex because it's a key to enlightenment. It's a vortex of power, and what it does is that pull of being in that sexual experience, which is akin to the experience of being with God, being oneness with God, will push you up through into eliminating the fear from the solar plexus. Hello, kitty cat. There comes another masculine sitting on my windowsill. Hello. Anyway, so oh, he's got starry eyes, this one. Yellow starry eyes. Oh, yeah. Right, so anyway, I'll get back to this. So it brings you into this push that you get through the sexual, the elimination of fear through the sexual really is, you know, because there's, oh, I digress. But look, human experience in the base chakra here as well. We've got like religion, church, we've got indoctrination. We've got a heaviness around humanity, and that will that's like bringing you out of that sexual experience and saying, no, 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 sex is only for babies. Sex is only for that, and it's dirty and it's evil and you shouldn't do it. All that, whatever indoctrination you got there, coming from wherever that is, that's what is down there. So you pushing through the fear in the sexual chakra, right, and loving that experience of that sex and feeling connected to God, which is what it really is for, is pushing up through the fear in all sorts of different ways. These three chakras are related to primal experience, right? Because they're from beneath enlightenment, all right? So this is human, the human collective. This one sex, like they said, and this one fear. So it relates to the physical earth experience, right? And what did they say about the physical earth experience here? Is that mastery over the physical earth experience is in understanding that you aren't human, and it's eliminating all the fear of being human. That's the highest understanding you can have in a human form, and it doesn't matter where it comes from, whether it's Pleiadian or God or angels or whatever, as long as you're not just thinking it's that there in the fourth, but you're actually letting go of it. Oh, you're in an energy of, well, actually it could be anything. It's a much better energy to be in, actually. And there you will start to push through the fear matrix. But all this energy down here is related to ways of understanding that are not related to thought form, really, higher consciousness. So it's like the unconscious. It's all related to the unconscious. It's all related to like primal urges in the sexual one, primal fear in the fear, and even the human experience where it's down here. It's not related to higher consciousness. It's related to thought form. So it's egoic. It's related to egoic consciousness, which is indoctrination, enslavement. It's not liberation. It's heavy, right? So just to say that about those. And then you're moving up, right? So through your twin flame process, you're moving up through the chakras. When you get to the fear chakra, of course, there's going to be a massive amounts of purging, because you're going from releasal of fear to feeling fear, because that's how you clear fear. You don't clear it by ignoring it or running away from it or trying to put some burn salve on it for a temporary release, or for looking for somebody outside of yourself to heal that fear, like a god, like not a god, like a church or a doctor or a therapist. because only you can clear the fear that lies inside of you by your process through the twin flame process. That's why people, anybody who goes in that direction, that looks for somebody else to clear the fear for them, they aren't going to find it there. Not to say, of course, that there are things that you can bring in to your own experience. Meditation on fear, understanding what fear is. Like I say, I had to go and listen to loads of Esther Hicks channeling through the Abrahams at a given point. So gaining wisdom around that will help you overcome your own fear. Understanding inside of you there's a battle going on between the dark and the light. And that's what you're meant to be going through, because that's twin flame process. There you can understand then what that is. Awareness is healing. It should just take awareness to heal things. And as soon as you get that awareness and understand why that is inside of you, there is clearing that comes from that clarity. It's all pushing through to higher understanding, right? So we're pushing upwards. And then as you come into the heart, of course, that's heart opening energy. So that goes on in the twin flame process, where you feel massive amounts of empathy for your twin, for everybody around you. There might be a lot of crying when you're in that energy, as you take on board that understanding that we're all connected as one, and you release what has been years and years of an accumulation of ego inside of you, and being in fear and feeling separate, and being told you're separate, and maybe being told negative things about yourself as well. That all comes through, like I said, negative experience. And you release of all that, and you're coming into heart energy for yourself, love for the self, and it's expanding that heart energy. So once you push through this, right, and there's a teetering point in between all these chakras, so you don't just march straight from one to the next and then never go back to that. Like I said, you will spiral back and forth, up and down, and sometimes you will go into your head where you've cleared almost towards the end of the story, and then you'll be asked to go right back down to the base chakra. So it's not just spiral back down to the one below. You can take a right downward into there and clear out loads of that again. You could go from the head down to the heart again. You could go from higher consciousness to the heart again. Whichever, right? Back down to sex. There'll be a reason for whatever it is that you're going back to. So none of it is ever wrong. It's all entirely right, and it's where you're meant to be. So to just focus where you are and be in that energy of that and find clarity around that is where you need to be. Some people will spend extended periods of time in one energy or the other. Again, it's always about coming back to self and focusing on that energy that's inside of you and finding more wisdom around it, more clarity, and understanding more about that, whichever one it is that you're guided to be in, and finding liberation from it in terms of fear. Okay, so where were we? So you're moving up through these chakras. So, and the bit that I wanted to talk about was, because I put out in the last video that I put out, that the mind is the last location for clearing, which it is, because when you're finally in the mind, I mean, you go up into that mind, right? When you're in ego, you're in the mind and you're clearing it then, but then you'll drop back down into the heart. So this part, this like psyche clearing here, mind, heart, you're going between ego and empathy, and that's when you purge. So as you go through this story and you're purging, black to white, dark to light, you'll be going mind, heart, and that could go on for a certain amount of time. You might then also just be stopped with a shift, and it's like, we're stopping that for a minute and we're going to take you right back down here again to the base chakra, where we're going to bring in something from your family that you need to be uncorded from. So there might be a letting go of a physical representation of dark energy, either a friend, a family member, a group that you're associated with. It could be anything. Twin flame consciousness. A lot of people, when they go through this, we're going to make you let go now. They're really guided to let go of the twin flame thing. So they stop looking at that, listening to that. That's what I went through last year. Was like, no more of that. You're cutting the cords to that. Because my process had to take me through the next part of this scenario. So I went from final purge, basically, into no more of that, clearing out all cords that I was connected to in the physical. So now there's no people in my life at all, apart from one friend who's actually a twin flame, and she doesn't even know it. So, but I know it because they told me when we were having dinner one time, as they shot the name of her her one through my head. So but she, and I know that's, somewhere down the line, that's because there's something going on there that we're going to have to speak about, and that's the only reason she's in my life. So but there's nobody else. I cut all cords, willingly, unwillingly, all cords cut. If you listen to my last video, you'll know that in the last month of the year, or November it was, I had to actually call somebody back in, somebody I hadn't seen for 13 years, call them back into my life so I could just thoroughly cut that cord one last time. And that was an overwhelmingly heart-opening experience as well. So we've got going back down, it's cut a cord, and you've got a huge surge going up then back into the heart, expanding that heart energy even more, and then it's like calm waters after that. And after that was when my all purging stopped, after that cord. You see, also they'll hold back on things for you. So, when you feel like you might know you're meant to let go of somebody, and you might be purging because you are not able to let go of that person, right? So it might be like, why can't I let go? What's going on with this? And this can be about the twin. Why can't I let go of them? Why can't I? Because you not letting go is facilitating your process. It's pushing you through the process. If you could let go about your twin, you wouldn't purge. And the reason for you purging is the bringing all of human consciousness into the light. So, of course, you're going to be made to purge. That's part of the process. And that's why they make you hang on to that. But I tell you what, at the end of it, they make you let go. And that let go, when they do that, it's really easy. It's not like a struggle to let go. It just goes. Some of you might know that. You might have experienced that let go. So they'll hold on to things for a certain amount of time, just for that special reason, so they can bring it in later, so you can have a let go. They're not stupid, That's why they'll hold back on things, and you'll be like, I know there's something, I can't shift this fear. Why can't I shift this fear? Well, they'll be holding that onto that for when you get that fear shift, and that sends you flying right up into higher consciousness. If you were to shift fear when you were in lower consciousness, where would you go after that? You'd go into your mind, and you wouldn't have to do any work anymore. You'd just carry on like a normal human being, trotting around, not connecting into higher consciousness, connecting into thought consciousness, being part of the herd. And I mean that in the nicest possible way, but thought consciousness is what creates herd mentality, so that's why I'm saying that. And you'd be connecting in there, and you'd be la la la, back to normal life. But of course, if you have to go through a massive amount of fear, and then you get a sudden release of that along with that release, there comes a huge light bulb that you're God, and that there's more to this than meets the eye, this physical life, then that'll be why they're hanging on to keeping you down in that fear consciousness for a time. You see, because you've got to move beyond the matrix version of the game. You've got to move beyond the physical understanding, and that is the twin flame process. It's the evolution into higher consciousness. So they're going to manipulate you. I was talking about God's source is going to manipulate you through your energy, through these points of reference, as much as it is required in whatever way you've agreed to before you came into the human experience, to get you into the point of reference that you're here for, which is the embodiment of higher consciousness in your human form, the elimination of all ego, right? And therefore you'll be able to eliminate the ego from all consciousness by going and dabbling and dicing with this thought form entry point into human consciousness where the dark does lie, and eliminating it there by using your voice to speak out. And that's mission work, right? So anyway, where were we? So you're moving up and down chakras, you're experiencing different degrees, different elements of beingness through these chakras. Then the last point, a reference for the before the end of purge, is the mind. So this is where you're going to find even more furious activity in terms of purging. Before the purge ceases, it's a frantic frenzy in there of fear and negativity and disagreement and confusion and sadness and grief that comes from that as you purge it through. So last point of reference is that. And then it all starts to calm down. When your work's done, like I say with me, they were brought in one final person back for a let go and an expansion around the heart, and then all still waters after that in the mind. All calm in the mind after that. And the reason I'm showing you it this way in relation to the chakras is because let's do 2 diagrams. So you've got all the planets that are in a circle, right? So I don't know, I'm not going to do the names of them because I'll forget. Saturn, Jupiter, things like that. Is it Pluto as well? Neptune. Maybe I do know them all. I don't know what order they're in though offhand, so I'm not going to worry about that. We don't get bogged down in details. It's just for reference, for an understanding. And then you've got the other planets, the Mercury, which is mind, Venus, love, the moon, which actually circle. Do we circle the moon? I think so. So it's kind of not in the same line or circle as them. And the sun, which also is. So we've got the light and dark. And I don't know if you can see this. Let me just make sure that this is on. And yeah, you can see that just about. So there's this circle of planets. And in the middle you've got the earth, and then you've got the sun and the moon. So you've got this, and these represent also the chakras. Just put some more in so it looks complete. So this represents, it says the circle of life is what it represents. And the chakras, so appearing to be in a straight line, but again, it's actually a circle of life. So you've got, just to say, right, so you've got the moon in the middle, which is your psyche, your humanness, and your physical beingness, which is the earth. So you represent the earth, your microcosm, and then you've got, so this is the macrocosm, right? The planets around the sun and the moon and the earth. And your microcosm is your physical being, your psyche, your moon and your sun, and then you've got the chakras around here. So whatever they are, base chakra, let's go middle, all the way up through throat, crown chakra, and you've got that circle of life going on, which is a circle of life represented by the planets as well. And like I say, this journey that you go on, this twin flame process, is a spiraling process of weaving up and down through this human experience, through this circle of life, these chakras, until you clear everything out. So you're clearing out, you know, as the planets clear, the macrocosm clears, you're clearing out base chakra, sexual chakra, you're clearing out anything against that operates against the vibration of purity that sex is. That should be the human experience, the powerful transformational experience that sex is. You're clearing out the fear, you're clearing out in the heart, you're expanding that, you're clearing through the vocal cords, you're clearing through communication, you're finding your voice, right? Because as you come through dark experience earlier on, you don't have a voice, and it's I was just thinking today actually, it's a very funny thought that I had, and the thought was, actually it was last night, I was brushing my teeth after I'd done my oil swish, and I had the voice come in my head, because now I'm in awareness of my ego when it comes in and it tries to tell me something. And for years and years and years, I was literally this person walking around on the planet, completely out of power, out of vibration from all the dark experience in my early life. And it was like I was being circled, and all the people around me, and this was including people, so-called friends, it was almost like, I said this to myself last night, I said it was almost like they were walking around and, sometimes they'd like come together and they'd have a little meeting and they'd say, could someone go and tell Hazel what to think? Because somebody's got to go and tell Hazel what she should think, because she doesn't know anything at all. And it's our job to just go and implant inside of her different thoughts so that we can control the way she thinks. And I just had this little visual of them all in the past having these conversations. Just whose job is it today to go and make sure that we're telling Hazel what to think? And I was laughing at it because now it's like it couldn't be further from that experience, my physical experience. There is nobody around me, like I said. So all those people that were trying to, that were trying is not a word I'm putting here, just were implanting in me negative thought. I was not good enough. I should be ashamed of myself. I didn't know anything. They knew everything. I should listen to them. And in that there was all this anxiety and fear in my solar plexus, through feeling that shouldn't even be alive. All that cleared as I cleared through this twin flame process. And it's like the circle completed. So I came from the negative down here all through to the higher consciousness through this spiraling journey. So everything's connected, right? So your lower experience is connected to your higher experience through a circle, not a straight line. And the twin flame connection, and this is the whole video has been put because of this, is a dual experience, right? So you've got two people and you've got this energy clearing as you both move up into higher consciousness through the probing and prodding that comes from one to the other. So all that telepathy, all that knowing how they feel, all that hearing their voice, all the signs and synchronicities that push and prompt you to know that this experience is actually going on. So it's revealing the experience that lies behind the physical experience. It's revealing oneness. All of that experience that goes on, and it pushes you up into the head, and it pushes you up into your highest consciousness, where you're connected to source, where you've eliminated your own ego. And in that, you've eliminated ego. So like I said, last night when I was looking in the mirror and I was like, isn't it funny that those people, those energies, I should say, that felt that I was a void that needed to be filled with anything but myself, it's all extinguished. All that is extinguished. It's all deleted, all of that nonsense. And now we're in clarity. We're in complete clarity. And me and higher self, we know everything. So it's so far away from them always telling me, you know nothing. You're going to have to think what we think, do what we do. To me, being like this force of knowingness in opposition to that. And then, of course, because you're pushing up through a dual experience, once you get into that point, and this is coming from self-love, it's coming from authority over your own voice, your chakra, throat chakra. It's coming from actually having to experience these dark experiences down here. It's coming from owning the purity and power of sex through that connection you got with this other physical human. It's coming through all that. But it's not a straight line, it's a circle, and what it brings you right back down to, again, is what's down here in these base chakras. And what you have down here is primal instinct. So where this reunion point comes from, you can see how it's in a different way. Because yes, we can understand it through the vibration, which is all of that physical experience that you go through. But you can also understand it in this, that if you're in your head and you've not finished this clearing process yet, and you're thinking about the reunion, and you're thinking about how that could come about, and you're thinking about conversations, and you're thinking about talking to that person to make it come about, or either writing to them, calling them, you're thinking about a mind communication through the physical matrix in whatever way, emails, texts, all that sort of stuff, which you go through, right? I went through that. I wrote 3 letters. that it doesn't, and it never came about through that, apart from more running away. So all of that, where you are still clearing, is not the point of reunion. So any thinking about that is not the point of it, because it's only once you clear that and then you're returning down to what is primal experience that it happens by instinct. So that human vessel that's operating from the masculine perspective makes contact in the physical, not through thought, but through instinct. That's really all I wanted to say. It's a long explanation, isn't it? But it's quite enjoyable. So it comes about through instinct, right? It comes about, you see, the light bulb moment in the head, that's the clarity, is the same point of clarity, clearedness, whatever you want to call it, of energy, as is an instinctual response. And that instinctual response is contact. So if you lessen your thoughts about the reunion, as you can see, and you're in more clarity and more freedom inside your head, and just, the knowingness that you know is the only thing that you have on the plate there, and you can have that, and you don't have to keep looking at it or talking about it or wondering about it or thinking about it inside yourself, then you are in the right energy for this instinctual response that comes from the masculine, which is the point of contact. It's like you're uncording them with your ego by not thinking about them. You're uncording them with your thoughts, because remember, you're connected, so they know, they feel what level you're at. They can feel whether you're ready or not, because they're able to, at some points, you get clear thought coming through from the other one, right? You know exactly what they're thinking, even though they're a million miles away. But just because you're connected on every level, and you're up and down the chakras, so they can feel whether you're overthinking. They can feel whether you're not, going in neurotic thought about them, in what people call the, in the human, they call it like obsession or neurosis, like repetitive thought that's, you can't shut down. They know that. They just feel it. And the instinctual response, which is the reunion, isn't made until all they're receiving back from you is clear, is end game. They're just saying, but it's just like nothingness. They sense your stillness. If you think about an animal in the jungle waiting to pounce, you think about a lion waiting to pounce. He's waiting for that prey to go completely still and quiet, so that he knows he's gonna leap through and grab that tasty morsel as easily as possible. I mean, I know in documentaries you see them running a lot, don't you, after gazelles and that, but I'm sure ideally they would love to just because they are trying to get one once they're still. They would love to just stay still so they can pounce and grab the tasty morsel. So you're basically the tasty morsel. The masculine energy is the wild beast waiting to pounce. So when you go calm and still inside, and there's no more frenzy of activity inside your mind, and all this work's been done, because this is work, so you can't just, I'm not saying you can always just clear your mind, but you get to this point where it is just clear because you've done everything else that's been asked of you by higher consciousness in terms of the collective work, energetically at least. And then you're in the position, you're in the prime real estate, and you're also the prime tasty morsel on the savannah. And the masculine will make his move. And when you've reached that point, then you get, once all this is learned, right, and I don't mean learned through lesson like this, but I mean learned through your energetic beingness. So you've gone through your process and you've come out at the end of it and you're in clarity. then that's when that happens. So that's what that video is about. Also, just to say as well, just as you're thrown, it's like a video game. At the moment I'm playing Crash Bandicoot, and every time I finish a level, I get thrown out, back out into the central warp room, and then I have to go back in and do another mission. And but at the end of each thing that you complete, you actually get thrown out back into the warp room. So it's a bit like with Twin Flame. You get, at the end of it, you get thrown back out from this energetic experience into the physical world, into a physical experience. Yes, you've got reunion there, and you know, whatever that entails. And you've also got this, people call it the Twin Flame mission work, which is actually very physically focused and about whatever you do in the physical world. And in some way that is in enlightening and releasing from slavery humankind. Because that's what we're here for. We're here for like evolution, freeing everybody, bringing everybody into higher consciousness. All right, that's it. I'm going to leave it at that. I hope that helped some people to understand things in a way that maybe they need to understand, to help them. It's all about helping. It's not one size fits all, as I said. So if you hear something that triggers you or that you feel is not in alignment with you, then that's fine too. I'm not coming in the comments to argue, because it's not where I want to be, and it's not where anybody should want to be. And I would advise, if you feel like you need to do that, then to understand that that's not where you should be, and to look at moving away from that energy and more into an energy of unity with inside yourself, where you can know what you know, and everybody else can know what they know, and that's all fine too. All right then, lots of love, take care, see you next time, bye.